This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 859 for the week of Monday, March 10th, 2025. My name is Zach, and I have very special guest translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump and Manga Plus, Stephen Paul, with us. How's it going, Stephen?
Hey, I'm back. I'm healthy again.
I need to... This might be the time for me to read Oda's comment this week because I feel like it's prescient for you.
Sure.
Three of my four regular staff members are out sick. I've never faced this level of crisis. What a week. Steven, I guess you must be one of those three.
Yeah, I was one of the three. I'm part of the big four. That's what they call us. So we protect Eiichiro Oda from harm. Yeah.
Fisticuffs.
The Shiten no.
The four heavenly kings.
Thank you.
The four emperors of the sea. Stephen, how you're feeling better though? Everything good?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've transitioned from, like viral cold to just plain allergies and pollen searn.
2025 has been a hell of a year. It's March. We also have our artist for this week, also Eisner Award-nominated artist for Mermin. I love trying to get to do all these off the top of my head. Hog Dragon Racer, and his newest series, which is the one I keep... did I say Dragon Racer? Is that the newest one, Joey?
It is until a week from now, on March 18th, when The Littlest Fighter drops.
Fighter. I'll get that.
Yeah, look out for The Littlest Fighter, March 18th and beyond.
I was just setting up the plug, is what I was doing.
Does he do a
Thank
1-inch
you.
punch?
Yeah, that would be a small fight.
Good.
Just an inch.
What is it? Inch High Private Eye or whatever that is. We also have Dennis. You may know him as Ichnob, a longtime contributor to the podcast and a podcaster of his own, in his own right, Vintage Anime Pod and others. How's it going, Dennis?
It's going good. I want to give a shout out to my man Shanks for his birthday. And also it is Zach's day. Happy Zaku Day. For all you Gundam fans out there.
Oh, it's not my day.
Thank you.
Well, I mean,
That's my boyfriend.
Yeah, Zaku.
I mean, I do like how in Japan that is my name. Yeah. Abby Denton.
They have actual pipes. I'm just delighted you got Stephen Paul on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm a big guy.
Like, I've been thinking he'd be great on this for years and years, and I'm glad you finally swung him.
Four.
You don't even listen. Abby Denton's with us, comedian. And what you have something coming up too, Abby, right?
I do. Well, okay. So using a fake name online, unfortunately, means that it's very hard to convince Kickstarter that I'm not a fraud attempting to steal money.
No.
So this keeps getting pushed back, but we're with it. I think this has been in the
Pipeline.
the making for 2 years. Yeah. I think I've said look out for this for 2 years, and then poor Javi sadly got regular paying gig for 2 years. The poor man suffering for us all. But now we finally have time again to do Gamer Mom, the Mamu Games. And if you Google it, look it up on itch.io. There's a landing page I made there, and you can read a 10-page preview. You'll love it. It's got jokes. You'll love it. You'll love it.
I like jokes.
We're making something great. It's beautiful. Like my mother.
I'm trying to think of the name of the Patton Oswalt thing. The bed that eats people?
Deathbed. The bed that eats people.
The bed. It's just the similar. Yeah. I like it.
It's
similar like rhythm, not any other thing.
I was going for The Man Who Laughs, but that is admittedly a much more readily recognizable cultural reference.
No, the thing is, I have no.
And something I'm actually familiar with.
I have no cultural touchstones whatsoever, so that's my issue. On today's episode, we're going through chapter 1142. Yeah, that's right. And we also have Piece Together. But before we get into that, the big news is after 18 years, Crunchyroll now, formerly Funimation, the dub has caught up with the release of One Piece somehow. Dennis, you're fist pumping that, which is appropriate.
Good for everybody who are staunch dub only people, but the dub is good, so kudos to them to be able to be caught up. With the whole break that the anime had for 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty amazing that the dub cast was able to spend that time catching up. So that's great.
And
it's a great dub. All the performances are amazing. I was just watching the dub of Whole Cake, and there's that great bit where Sanji's like, "So you're telling me that I'm a clone? What's going on with that?"
Spot on.
Great. Love that dub.
that's such a good Eric Vale impression. It's Emily, who friend of the show, did post a big thank you. I'll read a little of it, not the whole thing. But just that 18 years in the making, the English dub of One Piece is officially caught up to the Japanese version of the main story. It's been one of the biggest honors of my life to spend the last 3 years sailing. I can't believe it's been that long. Sailing toward this milestone with everyone. First, as one of 2 ADR directors, and then as the sole ADR director. Nearly 1,500 actors and crew members stretching across 2 decades. Is what it took to reach this massive milestone, the largest English dubbing effort in American history. Also mentions that it was 5 days a week that they were doing this for 3 years straight, which is nuts. Employing the entire state of Texas. Much like Walker, Texas Ranger, which I believe was the comparison that has been used to One Piece over there.
It is. Texas is a right to voice act state, so they all got these.
Is that what it is? It's in the Constitution. You have to be in One Piece if you live in the state of Texas. If you have,
I was thinking about this, and I was wondering how many other countries, or if there are any other countries, any other dubs of the One Piece anime that have covered like the entire length of the series and are also like done by essentially the same regime, like the same company. I mean, obviously a lot has changed over the years from Funimation to Crunchyroll, but like it's a through line. The same people have been involved the whole way. So that's a remarkable longevity, and it's quite a feat.
In similar news, the One Piece Dallas event, the One Piece Day Dallas event was happening this past weekend. And I think in addition to showing some dub related stuff, I believe, and I know Brina Palencia at least was their voice of Chopper. It seemed that they also had a exclusive premiere of the upcoming episodes, maybe.
Ooh.
So no one knows about this? I was just...
Nope.
I had not. This is my first time hearing
I knew
about
about the event.
Cool.
I could not go because I could not swing it. But all I saw was some actors along with Kitadani doing a concert there. And it's mainly supposed to be focused on like cards, tabletop game, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I think it's through Bandai.
Yes. Yes, it is. And the first time that it happened in the U.S.
They got Ayami Miyazaki to do the Card Fest last year. But that's a Digimon guy.
I think they did something similar in LA, I think last year, for the One Piece card game with Kitadani and Otsuki, right? Is that her name?
Maki Otsuki.
Maki Otsuki. So I think this had there's been some sort of template, but I don't think it was called One Piece Day.
Yeah, it wasn't called One Piece Day. It was usually just like Bandai's all-encompassing game stuff. So with the One Piece stuff, with their other card games and stuff that they have too. So it was more like.
And Digimon was there too.
Yeah, I'm not going to forget
we
Digimon.
Matter.
I'll have Maddie on again so you have more Digimon representation here.
I'm just glad I didn't say Yu-Gi-Oh because that is not Bandai. I was like, what's another card game that Bandai has? No, not that one. No.
They tried to have what is it? Union something.
Gundam.
Just launching Gundam. What is it? Battle Spirits that tanked so bad that it's $10 for a box now.
One Piece the card game seems to be doing well though.
Yeah, it does.
They said they're going to do simultaneous releases in different languages next year. I think for One Piece. In 2026.
They spent last year doing Digimon at a ramped up worldwide, the international release super fast, and now it's already linked up. It's weird that they didn't do that with One Piece too, since that's like the big money maker.
But they're already digital, so half the work is already
much
done.
easier.
This is all above my head. I'll say though, we've always, I think, wanted kind of like a One Piece con, and this is the closest we have gotten so far, and it seems like they've been successful. If anything, they don't sell enough tickets from what I saw, because it's like a lottery, I think, as to who gets into the thing, whatever you want to call it, the event. They're called events. Any questions?
Los Eventos.
I have no answers. So,
where do babies come from, Zach?
I wish I knew. Gonna let that pregnant pause. No pun intended.
Hey!
There we go.
Didn't
Well
even mean
done.
that. My best puns are accidental.
That's what
One
makes
other
them
piece
great.
of news.
Much like your best children.
There we go.
No, neither of them were. Accidental. Anyway,
The best. No.
So just if they're listening to this in
Not in a hot
2050,
mic. Not in a hot mic.
No. But they really weren't. Anyway. What was I gonna say? Completely lost my train of thought. Volume 111 is out now. We talked a little bit about the cover. Steven and I, neither of us have it, so I don't think the recap for it is happening next week.
Probably
right?
not. Yeah.
Unless some forces come together to allow it to happen, but we'll be on standby for it. I am excited to go through that. I've already seen. I don't usually see leaks for it, but I've been seeing leaks for it.
Yeah, we'll see if Greg happens to not be available for the SGS, then maybe we'll have to figure something out to do the volume recap instead or something.
That does remind,
since there is no chapter.
There is no chapter next week.
Yep.
That reminds me though, Stephen, I don't think I've talked to you since the last SGS, which was probably one of my favorite episodes of this podcast. Granted, I only listen to the ones that I'm not on. But it was definitely my favorite of those. It was such a fascinating discussion. I have not stopped thinking about dragons since, and it's not unrelated to the SGS. It's related to it. But do you want to let people know what the SGS is generally? Because I feel like they should be listening to it if they're not.
Yeah, it's our off week thing that we do when the manga is taking a break. Me and Greg Werner, who many of you already know, but is a kind of well-known super fan of One Piece, has been big in Japan for years. Long time member of the show, and is kind of I don't want to say confidant of Eiichiro Oda's, but he texts the man. So he works on as a consultant on the Netflix series and writes stuff on the official website and so on. And so it's just me and him basically doing our own sort of recap, and it's mostly a sounding board for Greg to get his ideas off of his chest. But he always has a lot of them, and we do take questions as well. So we do our own question and answer thing, and it's a very laid back because it's just the two of us and
your cat Simba.
Yes, and my cat, and we just kind of share our expertise. That's what we try to do on it.
And am I right that because this only happens on off weeks for the comic, that it Spike Jonze did the theme song for it, and he sings, "Yes, we don't have a manga. We don't have a manga today."
Okay, now I get it.
Yes, we have no bananas. Oh, it's great. I worked hard on that. I'm sorry. Seconds of thought went into that.
I was going to say, I just imagine you up all night every day of the week, like, ooh, gonna fit this.
I've spent all week trying to think of a good sequence of syllables to pretend as a One Piece villain laugh, and I think I've hit it. I think Patti LaBelle would be a great One Piece villain, and she'd go, "Gitchy ya ya da da."
That's why you wrote that earlier.
Yes,
that is accurate.
Gitchy ya ya da da.
You do that impression every single time.
Coucher avec moi this soir.
I'll pay to listen to that whole arc, I guess.
Hey, Zolo, want to give it a go?
Okay, I'm going to cut it off there. Let's move into our manga recap. But before we do, please subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. It's the only way to listen to us without any advertisements. And with all of Abby Denton's jokes intact, because obviously
they cut out most of my
It's the unabridged version.
Too filthy.
Too filthy for air. So check that out if you haven't. But with that out of the way, let's get into the manga. This is the manga recap for chapter 1142, What I'm Afraid Of. This is, if this were my chapter here, it would be
Finally, a chapter for the neurotics.
Finally. The agoraphobics, we're here. So what's
You're
your
afraid of
biggest
agoraphobics? Most of them seem very nice.
Let's go through our biggest fears. We'll start with Abby Denton. No, I don't want to. What's going on the cover page here? Steven, do you want to take it?
Sure. This is Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 28. Give back the sword and girls, Thunder Bagua! And Yamato is doning Who's Who right in the face.
Hey, it's an English don.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a rare
big one.
Yeah.
right?
Project D.O.N.
Toriyama style.
Project D.O.N.
Yeah. Battle Stadium DON.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yamato enters the fray of his own cover story with gusto here.
Mm-hmm.
Any comments?
The sword and girls.
Yes.
The two highest priorities.
The sword is loose. Mm-hmm.
Give me
Sword
back the
first.
sword. And also the girls, I guess. I don't know. Also, is page
Not
one...
the girls. Just give me back girls.
Yeah.
I want a girl.
I want girls.
Give me girl.
Well, if I'm being
Give me
pedantic, it is give back the sword and girls. So the covers both of them.
And German.
No one does parallelism like that. Except Steven, who's my friend. And who's doing a great job.
Any thoughts on this cover story?
It's my favorite kind, where it just like looks like a good
Panel.
like single illustration over necessarily just like a single panel in a story. You know, I don't know. I like this one a lot. I think it looks good.
It's good, yeah.
And it's
It's the after impact instead of middle impact. Which is a very samurai movie kind of a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every time we see the Thunder Bagua, it's framed exactly the same.
I don't want to ruin anyone's view of this, but I cannot unsee the gigantic index finger now holding the the club.
Well, like sometimes when you hold something, it kind of smushes the skin out a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's actually a reasonable excuse. If when he inevitably makes that excuse in an SBS.
I'll take my no prize. Thank you.
Or people were sick this week.
Hands are hard.
Real explanation.
Hands are hard to draw. All right.
They are. I forgot to mention you could read this chapter and all chapters as soon as they come out on Manga Plus, horizontally or vertically, or shonenjump.viz.com, mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp. Come on. You should know this already. It's free. It's legal. It's available worldwide the same day it comes out in Japan. Anyway, Abby, what's happening here on the first?
All right,
page?
I got to do my best anime child voice. Teacher. That's one of the children, and then a different one goes, "Help us!" And then another one, I think, because I grew up in 90s dubbing, another one would probably just have an inexplicable Brooklyn accent and go, "Teacher, there's a huge snake in the schoolyard." And this kid's just got one big tooth at the top and one big tooth at the bottom.
It's really
I
disturbing.
don't know if you've gotten a name for this kid.
His name is, what are those mole rats? Like the really creepy
Rufus.
ones? Rufus the mole rat?
The naked mole rat?
The naked mole rat.
Yeah,
Rufus the naked mole rat. That's it.
What's the squirrel
Joey,
from
get on it.
SpongeBob?
Oh, Sandy?
Sandy.
Yeah.
Oh. And
Yeah.
another one that looks kind of like a tall shark says, "It must be Jormungandr. It's the snake that brings an end to the week."
Oh,
And
so
and
wait,
I do want Steven to break down this pun
yeah, because I
or
saw.
how it changed.
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Abby. I didn't mean to interrupt. I know I did see people talking about this first page since it comes out legally on the One Piece site, the first page, and being like, "How is Steven going to do this pun?" And damn, you did it, Steven. Yeah, I want to hear a breakdown.
Okay. Well, we didn't finish the joke.
Okay, so the punchline is
I'm
another.
sorry. I'm sorry. You're
It's
right.
the snake that brings an end to the weak, spelled WEAK, the weak, those who are not strong. But someone else, hears the homophone and says, "You mean Saturday? Huh?"
Yeah, like the weekend.
It's good. It's a good
Yeah.
line.
Ladies
So-
and gentlemen, the weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, it was a weekend pun. So the thing I had to change was the description of Jormungand, which was originally it would have been like the snake of the end times, or the conclusion, or the ending, or something like that. Or like, I guess you would interpret that as the snake at the end of the world or something. And it just means that the word shumatsu was a homophone for weekend. And so, one of the kids responds, "It's Saturday." So I basically was like, okay, so Saturday. All right. How do I do a weekend pun? And then I was like, oh, well, week is a direct homophone of, WEAK, week. So, the initial message had to be slightly adjusted, but I thought it was like 90% of the way there already. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. And so,
That's
yeah,
really good.
it took
yeah.
like 30 seconds
Thunderous
to do that.
applause.
Yeah.
Very well
A
done.
professional.
Well, I've enjoyed it for more than 30 seconds, which I
Very
think
good.
that's better than most labor.
It's a good
it's
return on
telescopically effective.
investment. Yeah.
Yeah. Your joke dollars are getting stretched very well there. And the snake looks really, really fun. It's a good, we haven't seen a lot of fun monsters lately. So it's good to see a wacky snake. And then all the kids are saying, "Oh no, Eek, it's gonna eat us." Everyone run into the school, and one of the kids has like a weird Soga King hat. These are some fun little baby kids, Vicky the Viking babies running from the snake, and their teacher's trying to slow it down ineffectively. And they go into the faculty room of the Walrus School. And someone comes in and yells, "We got trouble, teachers. There really is an enormous snake out there." Presumably because the faculty had been possibly sitting there thinking, "Oh, these children are making up this giant snake." All the
To be fair,
thumping and fair, yes. "A beast from the underworld. What is it doing here in the sun world?" And then the math teacher, Mr. Blade, says,
Don't cross him.
"Always someone's trying to go uphill on ice skates." Mr. Blade, he says, "I'm the daywalker." He says, "I only hope we can evacuate everyone in time." And then the Walrus School principal, Mr. Tusk, says, "We should call the Chiefs." Wait, sorry, hang on. "We should call the Chiefs."
I'm
There
so,
you go.
so upset we're not a video podcast.
It's like I'm there.
Yeah.
And then the language teacher, librarian, Miss Ange, which it isn't quite as funny as Mr. Blade, I have to say. But in the meantime, the children are in danger. That she's the serious one. She's the Shemp, the one that no one laughs at.
Miss
straight
Shep
person.
Angie, or vice versa.
Oh yeah, you always see ANGE in like manga. I don't watch as much anime as manga. Like how is that pronounced?
Oh, I don't know.
Like in either language?
Yeah, this one is, I think is it NJ or is it Anje? I forget. It's not Angie, like an American style.
Okay,
but
I'll shut up.
but I don't
Ange.
think it really matters that much.
Ange.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna do Ange. There, I never know how to pronounce a lot of these sort of anime words, like that character in that manga that started in Shonen Jump recently, Star of Beethoven.
Those weird Japanese words, they're very difficult. I
Can't
understand.
Beethoven. He's that had all those symphonies in this. I think it's fun how you
I
can
think
just
it's Beethoven.
make up
Is it like
Beethoven.
two?
Yeah. Beethoven symphony, symphony. Simpani.
Just keep saying simp a whole bunch, yeah.
Tentatively, I like. I'm excited for more Star of Beethoven. I'm enjoying it. Anyway, the child's crying. He says, "Teacher, it's gonna gobble Aegir up." And there's a little kid, presumably Aegir, sitting there while the snake roars forward, and the kid goes, "Wah!" And all the little kids in the background are going, "Eek!" And yeah, really tiny and really cute because they're little kids. So when they scream, they go. And the snake has a big tongue lashing out because, he's not like a creature you'd see in a seinen, a very realistically rendered comic. He's like something out of some kind of a horror story, perhaps.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, and there's like early on you can kind of notice that the like shading on him, especially in that first page,
Oh
is,
wow,
like,
yeah.
unusual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a very good catch.
It was very similar. I think
Almost like
someone
Conjuro.
Yeah, I was gonna say someone mentioned that in Discord. I agree that it does. Dennis.
All right, next page, we have one of the teachers charging in, yelling, "Move it!" and wielding a large two-handed hammer.
That's the principal.
That's the principal. We zoom in, see Principal Tusk with making the very, very angry face. And for all my Monster Hunter players out there, he's doing a level 2 hammer charge. That way, when he's running for it, he gets the upswing uppercut, which is only for level 2, obviously. With a huge leap, swings it, protects Aegir. Gwarb! Ah! And the snake then, still reeling. It hasn't actually been stunned yet, but it's built up a lot of stun damage, which is what the hammer does, being a blunt weapon. And then then we see who's that? But it is Saul running up the tree, saying, "Sorry, I'm late. Watch out, Tusk." And looks like he's just like Henry Cavill cocking his arms so they could loading up a punch, I guess. Yells out midterm, and then his hand is imbued with hockey. And as a snake is sort of still feeling that hammer blow, looking up at Saul coming down, yells X slam, and then with a big old hockey base attack, smashes him to the ground. Big impact everywhere. Snake yells out this really funny onomatopoeia phrase, which says "Garg, Garg." I saw that anime, Giant Georg. Yeah, it's really good. Robot
I like that between like Luffy's everything and Kanjuro and whatever's going on with these guys, like Oda's just written in so many ways to do Looney Tunes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been
not that it was really limited before, but
it's been quite a few many years since I was last in school. But that's what I looked at the end of midterm exclams as well.
what is it? The wiki says that the Japanese is Kimatsu Shiken, literally meaning demon erasing resolute fist. I assume there's puns that this is not bringing in, but I would love to hear a breakdown of this.
Yeah, it's so it is a classic One Piece style attack name where Oda puts together a bunch of cool sounding kanji and menacing and very intense sounding kanji, but they are meant to be read in a way that sounds like something completely different or innocuous. And the funny thing is,
like the onigiri.
Yes, very similar to that. But the funny thing here is that actually I adjusted the term. So the homophone, like the joke in the name, is that he's actually saying like final exams or final tests. And I came up with the exclam pun pretty quickly, but then I was afraid that it would be too difficult to parse as a school related term. Like if it was just final exclam, I was like, maybe people will think that's like, I don't know, like final rites or something like that. It's like like an Undertaker move or something like that. So I changed it from final to midterm just to make sure that it was something you would not ever confuse for anything that was not school related, because it is definitely a school pun, since Saul is a teacher now. So that was
if there were another speech bubble, you could have given like a test grade at the very end where it's like hits him and then like you failed.
Grade. Yeah.
Okay, discussion question. Is it funnier to imagine that Jaguar was a Marine using school themed attacks and everyone else on his crew were like like you're off theme. Like this doesn't make any sense at all. Or is it funnier to imagine him sitting up like after changing jobs and being like, all right, I got to rename all my moves.
Oh yeah.
No, see,
With a notepad.
He was a teacher first and then got drafted. So he already had
we
the
don't
school
know.
things.
Okay, I like it. I
We
like
don't know
it.
what his past was.
Do we know his age?
No,
No,
I don't think we do.
You want to give me some time to look through the beaver cards?
The wiki says he's 127.
Oh, that sounds
okay.
right.
I don't know where they get it from, but
Probably the Beaver card.
The Beaver
Sounds like a
Um,
beaver
yeah.
card to me. Do
Okay,
we
there's
all
plenty of
see
time
what's
to do
wrong
that.
with this last panel? The
I do.
X-Slam panel?
He has 2 feet.
Yep.
Whoops.
oh,
Whoopsies.
Oh, does he
Whoops.
not?
Yeah.
One was
maybe
Oh,
it's
oh,
moving
oh, he
so
has a peg
fast
leg,
that we're
yeah.
getting like an after image. You know, like when you wiggle a pencil and make it look like it's rubber.
That must be it. He's got a
Oda
little
stays
something
winning.
stuck to his
Oda
foot.
stays-
Yeah.
Oda had it planned all along, guys.
To be
I
fair,
will-
it's just like a line that he needs to fix. He just needs to erase a little bit, right?
I will say when Dennis was describing the hammer techniques that Principal Tusk was using, I think I cracked the case of why 3 out of 4 staff members were sick this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the new Dragon Quest. In
Yeah.
Japan.
Although if they were any good, they'd be using hunting horn.
I do like how
True.
his.
They would be.
I do like how the principal's hammer also has tusks on the
Yeah,
back.
it's like, just a big tooth. Yeah.
What are those called again? The thing that on the other side of the hammer? I don't remember.
The nail remover thingies.
Nail
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the technical.
You know what? Let's just call him tusks.
Yeah, I
Nail
think
tusk.
that's
Theme.
it.
Nail tusk.
Yeah, hammer tusk.
Hammer tusk.
Steven. We can
All
get to the
right.
third page here.
So, yes, the kids are watching in shock as like, whoa, and they're screaming. We get a wide shot of the school. You can see how big the snake is overall, as it's kind of like its body seems to be sort of undulating through the impact going through its length, and then the little boy Aegir, who you might recognize him because he was in a previous scene. I think he was on the swing with Luffy. He's because he has this very distinct like flared blonde hair, and he is pointing at something, going, what, Mr. Principal? Which I don't know. I guess if I saw my school principal like swinging a giant hammer at a monster, I would probably freak out too. But it does seem like a bit of an extreme reaction in this case. But yeah, he gets to his feet and he's doing like he's tapping his back like an old person does and going, "Oh, my back. Thanks for the help, Saul." And Saul is also getting to his foot and says, "Don't mention it. Where'd this snake come from, though?" And the kids are like, Mr. Principal, Mr. Saul. And we get another Oda box for Tusk, the principal, but this time it is revealing
5 pages after the last one.
this time it is revealing that he is a former member of the Giant Pirates, so that being Dorian Brogy's crew, not Hyruden's crew. And so the kids who, again, like every time we see them, there's different kids here. They're all dressed so adorably. And this one is like, "You used to be a warrior too, Mr. Principal? The rumors were true. Mr. Saul is super duper strong. He was in the Navy, right? That was really cool." So, despite their apparent fear of, violence and fighting, the kids are definitely blown away by the display they have just seen. And meanwhile, up on... Are they in his beard? Is that where they hiding in his beard?
Yeah, they're in her beard.
Meanwhile, up on Saul, who's also
By
standing
Saul's
right
beard.
Robin and Chopper just pop out, and Robin says, "There are monsters like this in the Sun World, Saul?" And he says, "Not really. They're more like the usual wild animals." And Chopper remarks, "It's enormous," which you'd think they would be used to it by
Really
now.
putting his doctor training to work there,
Yeah.
Chopper.
And Saul, like the character from South Park, says, "Sorry about the scare, children." And they're like, "Thank you, Mr. Saul." And there's more screaming, and someone says, "Mr. Wolf." And Chopper, like the reader, says, "What is it now?" And then we go back inside the school. So this is very frenetic pacing here. Inside the school, we see the gym teacher, Mr. Wolf. Who
doesn't sound like a name people have, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Wolf Blitzer.
What big teeth you
Actually,
have,
the
Mr. Wolf?
chorus teacher at my school was named Mr. Wolf.
Really?
There's a very
Didn't spend a lot of time in the gym though. Big guy.
There's a very cute graphic novel series called Mr. Wolf's Classroom, which this made me think of. But
I mean, I would
making
think
a callback to a previous episode where I was an idiot. But it's fine.
No, Zach, we all heard that.
You're a
decided not
lovely
to acknowledge
person,
it.
Zach.
Okay.
We're proud to know you.
I would think
Abby.
I would think
You're
that
our friend.
Mr. Wolf would be a great name for a choral teacher, since they are so often singing in chorus. But Mr. Wolf is bloodied
Oh, hey.
on the ground, and they're wondering what happened to you, and he is worse for the wear.
It's funny here that the academics are the one kicking ass, and the gym teacher gets his ass kicked. I'm not lost on the irony there.
Before we move on, I want to point out one thing. It looks like there's a little girl developing her first little crush on one of the, probably on Saul. I'm going to say it's Saul. You see her going like "Kya," and then like little hearts and stuff. It's like the kindergartner's first crush on the teacher.
Oh,
so pure.
It might just be like what do you call it? Like you're so inspirational.
They're just so happy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be.
You know, Jaguar was my first crush reading this comic too.
It's the hat, isn't it?
It's the underbite.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know why I would have assumed otherwise.
I like orcs.
Forget that. What about the children? And everyone's like, huh?
Banned.
And is this this is Saul's accent, right? Oh no, or YLVA, that's not a name.
That's a name.
Right?
Ilva.
Yeah.
That's a name.
Ilva,
Who's Ilva. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not Scandinavian, unfortunately. Teacher Ilva and the others wandered off somewhere. And everyone's like, what? Where? And here is the kid who is cosplaying Super Saiyan 2 Gohan back here, saying, "Oh, are you guys Luffy's friends?" And Robin's like, "Yeah, that's right," and shuffles away after remembering Luffy tortured them by swinging them and a bunch of other things, I think. Robin being like, "Did Luffy do something to you?" Meanwhile, the gym teacher arises, ready to do push-ups, saying, "Be careful, Mr. Saul," while Mr. Saul uses both his legs, but it's a peg leg. I'm remembering Kiros all of a sudden, and the animators are going to have to go through.
He's got that peg.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's got a leg up on Kiros.
Kiros has an invisible leg.
Oh.
Oh. I thought my pun was bad. You mustn't touch the children.
Boy, there's some life advice.
Did Luffy do something to you?
I don't like any of this. Saul questions. This is why I thought it was Ilva was his accent, because which way did Ilva and them go? I can't even. It's like a tongue twister.
At least you didn't think it was an organization like the YLVA.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'd like to stay at the YLVA.
Yes.
You guys could think of what that stands for. Anyway, that way toward the beach. And they head toward and you see heading toward the beach a bunch of children walking in the distance. And said, "Mr. Saul, what happened to them? They fell fast asleep and wouldn't talk to us." And Robin, noting the contradiction here, asleep? You said they were walking. You guys are telling the truth. But Robin being proven wrong immediately, as we see, I do like, this is a fun perspective shot actually here of them walking on the beach. And we see what is very likely Gunko's arrow next to them, as they're sleepwalking through the on the beach, enjoying the, I don't know what time of day it is, say sunset, I guess. And they walk on with snot bubbles and all, which having a baby, I could say, is a real thing. I have seen snot bubbles. They totally exist. And they're
really?
Oh, yeah. I think I remember thinking, wow, my daughter's an anime character. I knew it would happen. Anyway, they're walking forward and everyone's like, come back, where you going? Blow the horn, says the principal. Warn the whole country. And Saul's like, isn't that a little overboard here? I mean, the whole country? And principal's like, this is an abnormal state of affairs, Saul. He should sound like Wilford Brimley, I'm realizing.
You gotta get this going to do the voice.
All right.
Get your fingers up your lip.
This is an abnormal state of affairs, Saul. Look at the forest. Better.
Perfect.
And Saul is like, what? And meanwhile, you hear them blowing the shofar. As we go to the next page, Stephen.
Oh, me again? Okay, so Robin, we get the reaction from the Straw Hats here. Robin, as usual, is reserved, huh? And Chopper is much less so. What? There are more monsters there! And we see big inky silhouettes of some gigantic bird and some kind of like wolf-like creature. Where'd they come from? See? Abnormal, right? Mr. Principal! The children are passing out. Now Anjay is directing their attention to the other kids that were right there with them, who are all flopping and thudding to the ground. And she's trying to rouse them. What's wrong, everyone? Hang in there. What now? I just don't understand. Get up, kids. And we can see that, yes, they are just totally knocked out. Robin is speechless. She's got a hand to her mouth. And Chopper, once again, speaking for the audience, wondering, what's happening?
He's doing a tiny little Ineru face.
It really is, yeah. But then he snaps to attention. He's like, let me down there, Saul. I'll take a look at him. He's doing it's like hold me back. Let me at him. I want to do something. And so Saul says, thanks, please do. I'm at a loss. The first thing we should do is stop the children and get them to safety. So clearly there's some kind of emergency going on. They can't control the kids. They don't know what's happening to them. And no one seems to know what the right course of affairs is.
At least that's the only bad thing happening on Elbaf.
Yes, nothing else, fortunately. It's just contained to one place.
Good.
Meanwhile, down in the underworld.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
Here he is, as they call him, the aura farmer or the aura merchant or whatever. Loki is on his feet, as we saw at the end of the last chapter, and he says, "You thought that leaving one leg trapped in sea prism stone would contain the true extent of my power? That was foolish of you. If you want to save Elbaf, undo the final cuff now. You'll soon see if I'm really helpless or not in this condition." And Hyrudin is there, and he's saying, Loki, and you can really get a sense, even though these guys are half-brothers, that Loki is quite a bit larger than Hyrudin. And yes, even the Straw Hats even smaller, of course. And it is kind of interesting to try to parse, like, does Loki mean if you want to save Elbaf, as in like do you want to see Elbaf spared? Or is it, do you want to actually save it? As in, I'm the only person who can save Elbaf now.
That was definitely the most interesting line of the chapter for me.
Yeah, and I think it's meant to be kind of ambiguous that way. Because
I'm assuming the latter, because I have faith in Loki for some reason. I don't know
since
why.
the story here is that, like, Luffy seems to trust Loki for some reason, and Oda is really drawing out he's trying to get us to the point where we're almost angry with Luffy, like Luffy, how could you do this? Like, why did you think this was a good idea? And Luffy, of course, is not explaining himself at any point, even when the other Straw Hats are like, and Zoro are like, what's your deal with this guy? And he still won't respond. And I think that's because Oda is really trying to ratchet up the dramatic tension before kind of probably showing us that Loki is not exactly, who we think he is. But he certainly is dangerous. And Luffy here is like, "Hey," and Sanji's wondering what's his deal, and then Loki is sticking that tongue out. Better watch out, how far you stick that out when you talk, because it's going to hurt if you bite it. He says, "Better hurry up. If I keep lending blasts, eventually they'll hit something, and the fires will spread. You know what Elbaf is susceptible to, don't you? Didn't you hear a very unnatural line of dialogue about that last chapter?"
Thank you, Stephen.
And that was kind of a fun thing too, where like when he keeps saying blasts, and you're like, are you talking about just like swinging the hammer, or is there something else you're talking about? Which we will see on the next page.
Yep.
On that page, Loki brings the hammer up and yells, "I can bring you all to ruin!" And it looks like there's some electricity or something cackling in the hammer itself. Hyruden yells, "Stop it, Loki!" But no, Loki does not stop. Swings the hammer into, I'm assuming it's part of the tree that he's next to, Yggdrasil. And with like a loud crash is happening, a loud doom sound happens, and it changes the lighting as everyone is dramatically shadowed. You see Zoro, Luffy, Hyruden, and the other giants and stuff there too. Brodo and I can't remember the name of the other Stanson.
Yeah.
I was about to say Strusen. Like, no, it's not Strusen. That's a Charlotte family member.
Zoro's like, the goggles, they do nothing.
Yeah. He only needs a monocle, we know, but
Wow, true.
All of this is happening while they're looking, and all of a sudden the doom keeps happening, and we see like a fire start breaking out somewhere around Yggdrasil. It looks more like lightning is striking this too. So
it's a fire caused by the lightning.
Yeah.
That's how he signals his friend Anal, who's just waiting up above.
Anal or Anna?
Ainaru.
Ainaru?
We all hear what we want to hear.
That's why I prefer. This is why I prefer Enaru.
That's why they had to re-record all the episodes I was on during Skypea.
Abby and her anal retentive comments again.
Hey!
I'll write it down.
Why?
No, as anal retentive. Anal retentive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually,
All right.
that's good.
All right.
Uno.
So yeah, the
King Uno.
Okay, please.
Loki's weapon, not Mjolnir, Ragnir, bringing lightning, hitting Yggdrasil, and then the other citizens of Alaf going, "Was that thunder? There's fire on the south side of the island. Call Chief Jarl. Did you hear the horn too?" All the notifications are going off. Everyone's checking their phone. Like, what's happening? Amber alerts everywhere. Let's go. Anything but fire. We must put it out. Quick, check your apps. Where's the California had to deal with that fire watch earlier. So
Elbaf and their fire Twitter.
Yeah.
My fan theory for how they minimize thunder hitting their tree is that there's a bunch of giants on all the branches of the tree with little straws, and they're blowing all the clouds away so that they don't go overhead and do a thunderstorm. That's my fan theory.
Abby, what's
canon
on the next
to me,
page?
folks. Alrighty. On the next page, we're back at the Walrus School, and everyone at the Walrus School should have tusks, but only one man does. And Miss Ange says, "Mr. Saul, Mr. Principal, I recognize those monsters." And Mr. Walrus, Mr. Tusks, Wally Tuscan says, "You do, Miss Ange." And she says, "It was earlier today." And then the harp starts playing because they're entering a flashback, and they do those little foreshortened panels that I really like that Oda does, that I've never been able to describe adequately to anyone.
I think the harp is a good description of like the strings.
Visual harp.
Yeah, visual
Yeah, oh
harp.
my gosh, you're right. That's great.
Yeah.
Oda does it again.
I just want to
Does it
say,
again.
I just connected that the Walrus School is because of Tusk. This just occurred to me.
Oh boy.
Zach. He's a walrus.
No, he's not literally a walrus. He's just a guy with very long teeth, probably.
He has tusks, but the school was named in honor of Wally Tuscan, the friend of
Yes, I
Mantaro
know.
Kiniku from Kiniku Manise. I don't know his actual name because I was a child. And the kids are all talking. They're like, "Loki has a huge hammer and he destroys the world." That's his thing, destroying the world. He's always doing it. He's always destroying the world, that guy. And another kid's like, no, he doesn't. The one who destroys the world is Nika, and holds up a big picture of Nika wearing a grass skirt and a little donut shield that's very cute. And a sword, which
he's holding it by the blade.
That's not our Nika. Our Nika can't hold.
Don't hold it like
that
that.
is our Nika. He doesn't know how to use
These
the sword
kids
at all.
are
That's true,
sure
actually.
peacetime. They don't know how to fight. They don't know that the blade is the sharp part.
Yeah.
They're just roasting.
How old
Nika,
are these
saying,
kids,
This
but-
moron needs a crewmate to hold a sword for him.
They
How
haven't
old are
studied
these
the
kids
blade.
supposed to
Mr.
be?
Blade teaches mathematics, not the sword.
That's true.
Well, the one kid is 20. Colin is 20. So that's probably.
I have to do math. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that supposed to be?
Divide by 5. No.
What is it divided
Yeah.
by? I don't even
So- I
know
don't
what
know.
giant years are.
Yeah. So if the kids are all around 20, then this is an accurate snapshot of the American education system.
Oh, it's true.
I drew my OC, Nika.
Sorry, go
Look.
ahead, Abby.
And everyone else is like, yeah, he's scary. Nika is scary. And another one's like, nah, man, Loki's scarier. Another one's like, no way. Obviously, the scariest thing of all is Fenrir, the giant wolf.
What a nerd.
Their power scaling.
No, oh man, that guy's drawn so many pictures of the giant wolf.
Yeah,
Believe
you know
me,
it. You know
in
it.
so many outfits, all his little outfits. And Missange is like, "Don't stand on your desks, children." Which, that's good advice. That's good advice. We had a kid in my middle school who would he'd hop up on his chair and yell "Spidey sense," tinkling, and like do the pose. That kid ruled. I think he's president now.
Oh.
And another little kid does a spooky ghost pose. She sticks out her tongue and goes, "It's ghosts." Another one says it's the undead Draugr. And another one says it's storms. Another one says it's Nidhogger, the lightning dragon, who's always hogging up all the Nidds.
Oh, I hate that
Another
guy.
one says it's Jormungandr. And another one says it's my mom.
I know her.
Your mom's a nightmare.
Your mom destroys the world.
Sanchez asks, is everybody finished? That's what you have to do when your kids get excited by something. And little girl says, "Teacher, if I have to think of so many scary things, I'm going to have a nightmare tonight. And this was Ilva all along."
Mm-hmm.
And
Cute,
Miss Sanji
very
says,
cute.
"Ha ha ha. Sorry, Ilva. I'm happy to see so much personality and creativity in all these drawings and essays, though."
What is this assignment?
Yeah, I was like, okay, so we joked about it being the chapter of neurotics, but like, yeah, who assigns their kids, like, think of the scariest thing you can think of. Let's all share our knowledge with each other.
Like, look, I get
Everyone's
it. Drawing
weaknesses.
prompts.
Let's go.
I get drawing prompts
you know-
and free form and all that, but like, let's think of the thing that keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
If this is like a warrior culture, I kind of like it as like, oh, you have to, get used to your fears and address them
but
or
it's
something.
not.
I could see. Well, maybe they haven't updated the curriculum in decades.
Yeah.
Again, like the American education system.
No giant left behind.
Normally,
That would have killed in 2005.
That would have killed in 2003. I'll write
Yeah.
it down.
normally in the
Thank you.
horror movie, like it's the kid drawing the monster that freaks everyone out, but you don't assign the kids to draw the monsters as part of their homework. So
This, I think, would have worked almost as well if it were just the kids talking about this and drawing it separate from an assignment.
Sure.
I wasn't actually going to bring this up, but this is flowing into something that I was talking about on the Discord. This reminds me very distinctly of a scene from Godzilla versus Biollante where there's all these psychic children and they're like, everyone's drawing their dreams today. What did you dream about, children? And then all of the children simultaneously all raise up like drawings of Godzilla, and it's like this very like weirdly frightening moment. It
Children
doesn't
of the
sound
Corn.
like yeah.
Heisei monster movies are great.
It's really great.
I was going to say that also, I mean, there's a lot of, there's a few Star Trek episodes like that in a variety of different series. I think Voyager is the one that pops into my head. And
Where
also,
kids start drawing Godzilla.
yeah. Oh, that's a good episode. You should watch that.
Wesley, stop drawing Godzilla playing basketball. You're a cadet now.
It's also very Twilight Zone-y. I know The Simpsons did a play on it, like the all-powerful child kind of thing, and then and that, which it's not quite, but I mean, this does feel very Twilight Zone-y. Yeah. Sorry, Abby, we had... was that it for the page? I forget. Where
there was one panel left.
Yeah,
and it's just explaining the scene. She says, all of those things that are showing up in the woods are what the children drew based on the prompt of what they were afraid. Okay, so that was the assignment, was the prompt of what they were afraid of.
What the fuck?
And Mr. Tusk, the principal of a children's elementary school for giants who are 20 years old but act like 5-year-olds, and who used to be a pirate on a giant boat the size of a lake, says, but that's ridiculous.
You're right. It would have been ridiculous if you didn't do the Tusk thing.
Thank you.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's verisimilitude that I bring to your podcast.
He's shocked. He's like, I didn't approve this curriculum.
I thought we updated the books. Joey.
Oh, the last spread is so cool. It's best. It's so good.
Yeah, so here we are on this last spread here, where they say, these things are a vision of the world that terrifies the children most. And Saul and the others look on, and I'm going to go ahead and just describe these real quick. Let me get through this, but I'm sure we all have stuff to say about them. But we see a dragon and my favorite, a bear with a helmet, and an angry bird. Maybe you've heard of them. A ferocious warrior, looks kind of like a Viking warrior.
I think that's supposed to be
a
Loki.
Scary wolf. A storm cloud. I think that's a like tentacle beast in the background. Nika himself, looking real fierce. A kind of tired looking skeleton. Kind of giving the Gasha Dokuro vibe here.
Ooh, yeah.
Reaching over the treetops. Oh, there's a ghost in the background. I didn't mention behind,
noticed that. Yeah.
Behind Nika, there's a spooky ghost. And then there's another sort of spooky black-hatted creature. And then the most terrifying creature of them all, a mom.
The Obahan.
Yeah. And they all look fantastic, really great. They all have that sort of like marker gray tone thing that makes them look kind of like the Conjuro drawings like we were talking about. And you can kind of do A to B, like if you go back and compare what the kids are saying, you can be like, oh, that's you know, well, what was the Nidhogger?
Nidhogg, yeah.
the dragon who
it's interesting
hogs all the Nidds.
Nidhogg is it is a Norse mythological creature, but from what I could tell, I don't think it actually is associated with lightning. But the kanji were like, you know, lightning dragon or thunder dragon or something like that. And so in order to, you know, kind of deliver that descriptive kanji use, I threw the little description in there just because, you know, it might be important or it might come up somehow. But I will note that I don't believe that in real life or in real mythology that Nidhogg has anything to do with lightning.
Just using Wikipedia and the very first sentence I'm reading, Nidhogger is the one who gnaws at Yggdrasil. So
yes, yeah,
reasonable that it would be a fear for that
creepy.
reason. Yeah.
It's interesting if that guy is Loki, that he has a full beard, so that kind of implies that Loki's been down there long enough that none of the kids have seen him before.
I mean,
yeah,
it's only 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's been a lot of question about exactly how long he's been down there.
My question is if the...
Sorry, go ahead.
Didn't they say it was like 20 years ago?
Oh, did they?
Or,
no, they did say
I don't
a couple
remember.
years,
Might have been vague.
I thought it was only 3.
Oh,
yeah, I thought it was more like 5 or 6 that he had.
But maybe
they've been talking
beard.
about that.
So maybe the wolves have been gnawing off his beard to shave him.
Yeah.
And the kids are like,
yeah.
Of course he can't shave down there. He's tied down. Of course he has a beard now.
That's just
because they don't
logical.
believe in him. Yeah, they don't believe in him. These are smart kids. My question is, if they're drawing Nika with a beard, assuming that's Nika, because he doesn't have a beard in the little kid's drawing, although I do like that it looks like the same brush was used to color in the children's picture or marker meta-narratively.
These kids are scared of beards.
Arts. Yeah. Okay. Luffy goes away to train for 2 years on Monster Island. Comes back from the time skip with a big beard for the rest of the series. How different would the show be?
I feel like less popular with a certain string of fan.
You can finish up, Joey. Yeah.
So then we transition to our holy knights here, starting with Killingham, who's nodding off to sleep, saying, "Okay, we're all ready to," falling asleep, and then I guess he snaps back awake as chair guy. What is chair guy's name? Summers. Summers says, "Hey, good job there, Killingham." And Killingham says that the time limit is until the kids reach the ship. Do you think we can get them back? And Summers laughs with a gee ha ha ha, and says something rather poetic here. To know love is to wound one another. And then he's saying to Gunko, asking her if she is afraid of anything, and she pauses for a moment and contemplates and replies, "Nika, to be continued."
Steven, I have a few questions on that whole bottom part.
Let him rip.
Okay, I have two questions. Now, the to know love is to wound one another does feel very what's the word?
Like a quote.
Yeah, yeah, but it seems unrelated. To me at least. Do you have any insight or no?
Not particularly. I think it's something that we will probably understand better with more context. But I could only guess as to what this has to do. Maybe it could be something like, okay, they're going to as part of their game or whatever, obviously they want to kidnap the kids and take them back to Mary Joa. So maybe they're going to do something that messes with, the adults' love for the children, or that they're going to force them into doing something that damages themselves in an attempt to save the kids, or something like that. Maybe I could be completely off base on that, but it doesn't seem to be directly sourced out of anything that we see in this chapter.
I'm also I'm doing a good Google/Wikipedia search on all of these different monsters, including my mom.
Your mom's got a Wikipedia page.
Owned.
Isn't that good? So Jormungandr is a serpent. Draugr is probably the skeleton. Storms is just vaguely.
It's just Zeus.
It's just Zeus, which is funny too for that reason. So I wonder if we're gonna see a kid afraid of Zeus. And we mentioned Nidhogger, the one who hogs the Nidds. Jormungandr, I said that already. That was the serpent. And your mom, Fenrir, we mentioned, giant wolf. I don't know if there was anything else.
I think the octopus-looking thing in the back, or the squid-looking thing, is probably a kraken.
Yeah.
Did we say the Draugr? What's the Draugr?
That was the
that's the skeleton.
The skeleton.
Oh, that is. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's an undead skeleton, or it's an undead person.
That'd be great to put on those 12-foot skeletons everyone uses to decorate.
I think, Steven, every time I'm seeing a dragon now, it's like my new moon thing. Every time it comes up, my ears are perking, or my eyes are perking up. That's not a thing. But that one, I guess that's the serpent.
That's
right?
serpent. That's the world serpent.
Yeah.
Jormungand.
But God, it looks like every punk has her dragon. Really does. Also, the best. Whoever drew that, very good. And I just need to say, my favorite is the very skeptical bird. In the corner, he's either angry or just confused.
I guess that has to be Nidhogg, since
God,
You know
he's
what I
hogging
think he's
all
saying?
the Nidds.
Dragons are their images being rehabilitated like dinosaurs. They're just birds now.
Vermilion birds, everyone's afraid of. No one trusts a vermilion bird. I think his internal monologue from this face is, I just work here.
You may wonder
It's a
how I
living,
got here.
Yeah, that's everyone's favorite Godzilla kaiju, giant condor.
Is that really?
Yeah, that's from Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, I think.
They really shouldn't be fighting those. Those are protected species.
I love the face that Helmet Bear is making. He just looks so happy to be
I know.
alive.
It's a good face.
I love that
That's
guy.
gonna be so sad.
He's my
So
favorite.
I assume it's gonna. I hope it's a little weirder than this, because like, if I can predict it, then it's hopefully not it. But like, I like the idea of Luffy using the power of comedy to make the kids not afraid of these things and somehow defeat them. Is very sweet to think of. I will mark out so bad if that happens. I'll pretend I'm too cool for it, but I am not too cool for it. Not in a million years.
I do need to mention that this Nika is not holding his sword in the correct manner, and that is by the blade. Kids, don't try that at home.
Yeah, this is like a stabby Nika.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes too much sense. Okay, thoughts on the chapter. There's no chapter next week, by the way, but we'll all be fearing Nika until then. Abby, what did you think of this week's chapter?
I'm so hype. I feel like what is it? I was here for the like the introduction to the Night Parade of 100 Demons stuff in Wano.
Oh yeah,
and
you
I'm
were.
very glad I've gotten to be here for every and now here's a big pan across a bunch of monsters ravaging the landscape. I think these are some of the best spreads that Oda draws. Oda and crew draw. And in this case, that small children in giant school draw. It just, you always get to sort of cut loose with the weird faces, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So I'm delighted and excited to see where this goes.
Dennis.
I thought this chapter was just okay. There's a lot of really good scenes on here that'll obviously build up to more stuff later, but it's, kind of like a setting up chapter. I'm just glad that we have a lot of things that are happening here in this, between Loki getting free, causing fires, these monsters that are going on, the kids and stuff. When we inevitably split up the crew more for doing things, at least they'll have, various objectives that they can all try to do, to problems and stuff to solve for them to do. So it won't feel like we're breaking up the crew again to do stuff. But I do find it funny that we had the celebration at the beginning of this arc, with the whole feast and stuff for everybody, where I'm hoping everybody got to eat that giant moose, because it was very tough for everybody to hunt for the festivals. But we're gonna have a festival at the beginning, and then another party, I'm sure, at the very end of this, when everything gets all cleaned up at the end of this arc. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do later. And I'm like, I'm very bummed that we have next week off with no chapter, because I want to know more. And that's a sign of, what I always like about One Piece chapters, when after it ends, like, no, give me the next one. I want it now. I guess the only other thing I want to add is I really like the kid doodles. It reminds me very much of how I draw, which is very badly. Every time we play Jackbox games where you have to draw, and I'm like, all right, here goes me drawing on my phone with my finger, competing against, Steve and Alex, who have tablets and okay, great.
Yeah. That's always fun to compete against professional artists. Speaking of, Joey, your thoughts?
Yeah, wait till you see my sketches. They'll be sure to really not look as good as these kids' drawings. But yeah, I loved this chapter. I thought it was really, really fun. It is true what Dennis was saying, that there's not a lot of concrete things happening, capitalized. I don't know. It's very setting a lot of things up, but it's very fun, and I like the density, and I like all the characters and stuff that are being introduced. I love Principal Tusk, brought to you by Fleetwood Mac. He's just so good, and I love that he's the principal of the Walrus School. I guess they probably named it after him. I would hope so, at least, unless it was just a pure coincidence. But I think he's very fun. I love that his hammer is like a regular toolbox type hammer, like we were talking about with the tusks and everything. And come to think of it, this is a very hammer heavy chapter. Like we've got Loki's hammer as well. They could compare notes. I don't think Tusks has quite the same might, but maybe a better design. And let's see. I do think the powers on display here are interesting. Obviously somebody is conjuring these creatures from the kids' dreams, and perhaps that same person is putting them to sleep. I was also thinking like there's a possibility that like maybe Killingham is putting them to sleep and Summers is drawing the creatures from their dreams or something like that. And Gunko is using her arrow powers to yet again do another kind of nonsensical non sequitur power with the arrows. And it's making me like thinking about all this stuff makes me realize that like I think last time I was on here I was kind of complaining that I didn't really like Gunko's power very much, and it felt kind of like a JoJo's power, and it felt like it didn't quite fit in the world and it's maybe like a little broken. But like maybe all of the Knights' powers are kind of like this, because I also think that like pulling people's nightmares out of their heads and making them real feels like a kind of a stretch for what we know as devil fruit powers too. So we might just be kind of at this like point where we're about to kind of level up the threat and the kind of wackiness and craziness of the devil fruit powers. And Kunko's power will seem quaint compared to everything else eventually. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think we've sort of covered everything about Loki. I think, it's kind of unclear what he's doing here. I do still kind of assume that he's, ultimately going to be a good character. And so whatever he's doing, I believe that there's good intentions here. And he does mention saving Elbaf and Steph, but like, it's just very hard to see what it is at this moment. 'Cause it's like all they've been talking about is how easily this tree is going to burn. And so now here we are, burning the tree, and I don't know where that's going. And it's interesting. And then, lastly, I do love these drawings so much. I like, Oda's been kind of experimenting with this kind of stuff with like Conjuro and with the mural and stuff a lot more lately, with the kind of playing around the way that you do screen tones. And these look like they were drawn with marker and then converted to tones. So it looks cool and I like it a lot.
I've known people who will like ding even like a very cartoony picture if it has that like the Muppet cutout mouth.
Oh,
they're like, oh, it's not supposed to look like that. And I'm like, why? It's so fun. And Oda understands how fun those are. Like Nika is usually drawn with those. Calvin in the first Calvin and Hobbes has one of those, and it's great. He looks like a Muppet. It's perfect. All
Everyone
cartoon characters should just have a big cutout mouth. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think
That's
that bird
the
is especially
soul of
Muppety.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the bird definitely feels like it's out of a different series, which is good. It's high praise, like to have something like that. I love evil Zeus, though. I can't just stop saying Zeus, but slightly more evil. Steven, thoughts on the chapter?
Yeah, even Nika looks like Dr. Teeth in the Electric Mayhem, one of those guys,
totally,
with his hair covering his eyes and stuff. Yeah, kind of, it is a fun chapter. It is very chaotic, and it is partially by design. Like Oda is definitely trying to inflict kind of maximum confusion on the readers while still, giving us something that is satisfying, or that is something that you can at least follow and take something away from. But it does feel, it reminded me, like the last time I felt like this was like the stuff in the Lego Castle, where, it was just sort of like, what part of this is supposed to be intentionally confusing, and what parts of this are possibly, like human error, or, maybe poor judgment in terms of construction, like scene construction and stuff. because you do get a lot of just like back and forth. There are so many instances of like someone says like, hey, oh no, help the kids, and then someone else, and then there's like a little cut in on someone else, and then they go back to the same people and they're saying, hey, we got to help the kids, and it's like kind of repeating the same thing. There's a lot of jumping around where it feels like the attention is very scattershot. Like I'm looking right now at the parts where they just found Mr. Wolf, like he's bloodied, and they're inside the school and they're looking around and he's yelling about the children, and then Oda just kind of pauses for a second to do this little gag with the kid like asking Robin, "Are you Luffy's friend?" And then he kind of scampers away, which is funny, but it's also like very distracting from kind of the thrust of the scene. And I think there's a lot of small things like that do add up. It's been so Ed isn't on the podcast this week, but he has often said like at the end of each chapter, like I had a hard time following what was going on from panel to panel. And I think Ed has an excuse because he's kind of recovering from some neurological stuff, but he's not wrong in that I do think the general flow of information in Elbaf, like just in terms of like what are we supposed to be thinking, what is our attention supposed to be drawn to, where are we supposed to be going next, is a little more, it feels a little more random than usual. And I'm still not quite sure if that is, again, like if Oda's doing something intentionally or if he's just maybe trying to do a little too much at one time and it feels like it's a little bit disjointed. But I do think this chapter suffers from a little more of that than the average Elbaf chapter. But aside from that, like in terms of like speculative stuff, I do think, from what Joy was saying, it does seem pretty clear to me that looking at the cumulative effects of what is happening to the kids, that yes, they're walking. The sleepwalking is obviously Gunko's arrow. And given that Killingham seems to be, a bit of a somnambulist himself, he's probably putting them to sleep, and therefore Summers probably has whatever power is drawing their dreams out and making them a reality. Although I don't know, that seems like a very strange, like devil fruit power to have. So we'll see what the actual, theme of his powers are. But
he's just Freddy Krueger, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
If he has those accordion arms, I'm marking out hard.
Yeah, that would be
greatest
cool.
Introduction of a movie character. What if the line "to know love is to wound one another" is because they're also gonna blow up the tree, such that these children that they're abducting, like, are actually getting off better than everyone. Like, they're wounding. I don't know.
That's
Maybe
possible.
that's how he's justifying it to himself. Like, actually, kidnapping children is good this time.
I don't think these folks really care.
Fair.
I don't think
Fair.
they do. No.
I think it's. I mean, they're.
Well, yeah, but you want an evil guy who has like, this is my wonderful reason for doing my evil things, and that seems like a.
Yeah, it's still hard to tell too, like what their goal is with the children, if they are, because we've seen in the past, obviously, that it seems like everybody is obsessed with like getting giant soldiers and stuff. It does seem like, at least to the government, it's like that seems to be a more practical thing than like hoping that Caesar's, gigantification medicine works or whatever. But it is a common theme. But it's hard to say if that's what they're going after, or if they're trying to weaken Elbaf in order to make it easier to take over or something. They've clearly, obviously, whatever their goal is, it involves the children, but they have not really explained it yet. And so I guess we're just kind of waiting for that shoe to drop to find out, what the deal is with that. But
what if their new project is turning giant children into small children?
We have
to create a normal army.
Counterproductive is what that sounds. A waste of money. Again, like the U.S. education system. Steven, any?
I went to public school. I turned out great.
I'm okay.
It only took us 40 minutes to set up this podcast today. After
That's
800
mostly my
episodes.
fault. Again, public schools. Stephen, yeah, any other comments?
Yeah, not much else. But I really loved the impact of all the big illustrations. There was a lot of cool action and big panels in this chapter, and I thought they all looked great. So, yeah, as it turns out, you only really need one staff member to put together a great chapter.
Stephen says being one of the three. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could speak to that for a second, like that's the thing I've been loving about Elbaf is how kind of like less tight and kind of airy the panels have been feeling, and so I offer that as somewhat of a counterpoint to what you were saying about it feeling more like chaotic story wise. I feel like the art has been a lot more kind of like less cramped. I think largely because he keeps needing to emphasize that these are giant characters and he has these big characters that are filling up a lot of space, and he's not getting too wild with the backgrounds in a lot of it. And so I've just been really, really loving in Elbaf the like panel compositions and the amount of kind of like less cramped space I'm feeling per page in general.
Does everyone else here read on mobile? Does anyone read like the blown up PC size?
I read on mobile.
I read
first.
it on an iPad, so it's like
okay.
In betweeny.
It looks like for a lot of these panels, and I think he's been doing this all through Elbaf, but I'm not a very analytical person. Where it looks like the panels were sort of drawn separately and then shrunken almost, whereas previous it's a very not dense. On mobile, it looks a lot like the panels were sort of shrunken down, as opposed to like a different line width, I guess is what I'm clocking. I don't know.
I think that's the assistants versus Oda.
Okay,
personally.
because it also kind of gives it the impression of like, oh, this is huge, and we're seeing this very detailed picture from further away, which is the effect you'd be going for. So it's working, but I guess I'm curious,
Stephen,
whether that is actually part of the process.
Yeah, well, we do get that kind of. I think we do get kind of visual illusions like that a lot, just because Oda's line work is very rough these days, and the assistants are sort of hyper detailed. And so like sometimes in some panels, it's really obvious which parts were drawn by Oda and which parts were drawn by the assistants. As far as the like composing the panels in different sizes, I don't believe that Oda, as far as I know, they still work on paper, but that is a very common thing to do in manga nowadays. When with people working with all digital tools, I've definitely worked on many series where it was very obvious that the artists would just like draw the panel at whatever size they wanted, and then they would figure out the layout of it and the sizing afterwards. And so you would have like super tiny sound effects where you were like, oh, you did not plan this out to be that size, but it ended up that way anyways. So that stuff does happen, but I don't think that it is true in One Piece's case, at least.
Okay, interesting. It is. Yeah, I wonder how they are accomplishing that in that case, because
I really
think
think
the landscape pictures are very arresting that way. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, the one thing we know is that Oda will always draw the things that are alive and moving, whereas assistants will draw things that are inanimate, like backgrounds. I think more often than not. So I think if you see weird line work in the animate objects, that would stick out to me more. But I think for the most part, this chapter I think definitely does kind of represent how amazingly detailed his assistants are versus how I don't want to say rough, but certainly it is not Oda from 2005,
Shades of Cerebus of all things.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, it's having a different background artist like Cerebus, but yeah,
Right.
I think that's really what it is. It's that the background artists are not only super crisp, but I think they are using finer tools. They're using like
Yes.
smaller lines, whereas Oda is using generally a thicker line, and so it does cause for occasionally some dissonance between like background and character work, but I think it mostly blends very well.
Yes.
But I do think that's a thing that bugs me a lot actually in digital art, is when somebody just draws a character and then shrinks them down and places them in an environment and the line weight is all like, doesn't match. But I think what's happening here is kind of the opposite, where they're all like kind of doing the backgrounds probably after he inks these characters, and that it's just a matter of them being like kind of the sharpest, tightest background artists in the biz, and they're just like so good, and it's like such a contrast to the way that he's been getting like looser and looser.
Yeah, clicking back to like Egghead, I guess they are still using finer line brush.
It's been going on for a while.
But but I do feel like it's been especially pronounced in Elbaf, and I'm choosing to believe it's a deliberate attempt to make everything look smaller behind these giant people.
It might be.
Just to try to be positive.
I mean, the smaller line art, like looking at page 12, 13 with Yggdrasil or Adam, like that makes sense that it's very thin line art because it's supposed to convey something huge. And I think that's done well. I also want to say, just to give Oda more credit, since he doesn't get enough out there, he's one guy. These are 3 to 4 people, and very talented people, but I think you you have tripled or quadrupled the amount of time to get it done, because you have 4 sets of hands doing it versus just the one. Any other thoughts, Stephen, on the chapter?
Nope.
I'll make mine quick, since I think Stephen did hit a lot of my points, but we invoked Ed before, and the thing Ed has been saying for, I think, as long as the podcast has been going on, our chapters are usually better when they hold on one scene. When there's like one, story that goes throughout. And when you cut back and forth between different scenes, it can take away from it. That's not always true. But I think Stephen really brought up some good points as to why it's true this week. I really do think his art has been really nice and kinetic, and is particularly in this chapter. And I do agree with Joey that a lot of issues that he has had in the past, with the crammed panels and such, have improved. I'd even say in Egghead a little bit. And there was a lot going on there. But I certainly in Elbaf. That said, I think a lot of the story construction has been a little messy at times. So I do see that. Sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it is. But I do want to give a shout out. Pages 12, 13 are gonna be one of my favorite of this arc, I think. Because not only do I love any time Oda does do there's lightning or light or something that creates shading. I've always been a fan of that. But I do really like, maybe I'm thinking like Steve Urko or whoever here, but how his hammer like hits the tree and the tree is literally to the left of it, of like right where he's hitting it. It gives like a good kinetic flow to the page. I think like it feels like he's actually, you see the cause and the effect. The hammer also looks badass in that first one. I don't know how to describe what he did, but almost the fact that it looks so rough, the lightning, I think is really cool looking. So I do want to, the hammer itself is interesting. It does, I forgot if this was Jill, I think it was Jill who mentioned this week. It does look a little like Usopp's 10-ton hammer. Again,
Usopp's is more round.
Dennis, don't correct me here because I know you're right, but I'm gonna pretend I'm right. No, it is a little more round, but I
Adding
do
the
like
corners made it the 12-ton hammer.
Yeah.
Happy to help.
Oh god. But I do like the idea of Usopp using this in the future. I think that would be really cool, and you wouldn't have to update your cosplay too much, Dennis, and that's what's important here. If you, I mean, I don't
have a hammer. I have the ranged weapons, and I did carry a chalkboard one time.
I thought you did one with the 10-ton, but I guess I'm wrong.
No.
Oh, and by the way, it is called the claw hammer that Principal Tusk had. I was thinking of a ball peen hammer, but that's a different type of hammer. It does not have tusks. For those interested, the last panel is gorgeous as well. I'm pretty sure that, well, my son's 3, he's not 20, but I don't think he could draw this necessarily at this time. Although, I haven't asked him to draw a bunch of creatures from his nightmares yet. I was planning on waiting until he was 4.
What's your nightmare look like?
Son, can you draw your nightmares for me? And then we'll make them come to life. Apparently a car wash is the current one.
There's a book, I forget who did it, but it's just like taking children's drawings of monsters and then like doing super rendered.
It is a very cool
They're
idea.
great.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, I don't remember who that is either, but that's a cool book.
Thought we were going to talk about a car wash nightmare.
Oh, let's talk about our car wash nightmares. I'm only thinking about that because that happened today.
Zach only fears agoraphobics. They're coming to get him.
As an agoraphobic, I do fear agoraphobics. Anyway. No, but I do really like this concept. I know it is very JoJo-y also, but I think this is a really fun power in a ridiculous way. But Oda, it's One Piece, as I think Abby so astutely put. Here's the guy who looks like a walrus, who's a giant, who's part of the giant pirates, saying things are abnormal here. Like, why not? I'm not upset about the craziness of it. Gunko's was a little weirder, if anything. Like it's less potentially overpowered, but it's just like I don't completely get what he's going for still. Like, okay, you could make animate arrows that kill things. Cool. I also really like Killingham generally, just his design, and I'm sure we talked about that.
It's a wonderful name too. Just
it
magnificent.
is. Well, it's also the key. Well, did we even? What's
Kieran.
The reason for?
Oh my gosh, that's right. I missed that episode. Oh my gosh, that rules.
Yeah,
and like
my favorite.
I was actually kind of mad when Killingham showed up because I was like, oh man, now I like a celestial dragon.
Yeah,
like, finally it's happening.
Yeah, like he's playing with fire there. I think
he is. I mean, just because you look cool and have cool powers doesn't mean you are cool.
He'll do something douchebaggery to be like, okay,
yeah,
good, I hate him again.
Yeah, I think
it's
we're
true.
waiting for that.
He's got a fun gag though. He falls asleep. I don't know.
Yeah, narcolepsy is always a good gag. Narcolepsy is my other fear, Abby.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I fear people who are narcoleptic. No, I don't. What was the origin for Summers, Steven? Did we have like any?
I don't know what that one. That could have
Named
some
in honor of Buffy.
Yeah, well, it is Sommers with an O, but I don't know if there was a particular root for that. We'll probably find something with his devil fruit when that gets revealed, but now I don't know.
I do like that he gets dressed and he goes right back in that chair. He's like, look, if it's here, I'm going to sit in it. I did think that was very funny. Not saying that they're all not complete douchebags and deserve to die, but for now, I'm enjoying their antics. And it makes sense also that Gunko is afraid of Nika, since we heard from Corazon, kind of the enemy of the gods and all that. I think it makes sense that Nika would fit in with the D kind of thing, given everything that we know at this point. But I guess it's a cliffhanger. Are these children's drawings going to destroy Elbaf? Maybe. we'll have to find out in 2 weeks. Any other thoughts on this chapter?
I do. I love Jill's idea about the 10-ton hammer potentially like manifesting through this Viking hammer. And I was thinking like, but how is there any way to make it small so that he can carry it around? And then I remembered that we have an owl that can change the size of inanimate objects.
Ooh.
Which I like.
For Usopp.
That's really good. Okay. I guess it could stay that size. Why not? There we go. Shrinking things. Now we're doing it. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, let's take a little break and we'll be back with some Piece Together. This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, theories, and then decide, whether Rufus the Naked Mole Rat deserves a place in this. First one I saw when I looked down, and I'm like, I gotta bite that bullet. Steven, what's our first segment?
That would be this piece.
I love everyone trying to do that. First
It's
one
so low. It's hard.
I should have made Dennis. Dennis, do you want to try? Because you have like, the lowest voice I know.
I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah, go for it.
It's time for this piece.
But everyone sounds like they're like manufacturing the lowness. As I think.
This piece.
I think I can do one very naturally.
Okay, go.
It's time for this piece.
There it is.
There we go.
Gitchy.
Yeah, just save that, Delaney. And we can use that every time.
Gitchy, yeah. Big Mike says, "Oh crap! It's daylight savings time now, and I have to wait an extra hour to read the new chapter. Lousy farmers! So I'll ask a piece together question to pass the time. Is the reason you can't get to Laugh Tale using the log pose? Is it because it's a giant piece of poop in the ocean, like when Usopp was telling Kaya the story of him landing on a giant goldfish poop, and that's why Laugh Tale has no magnetic field?" Good question. I think there was
He's running out of time to make that one come true.
It's a non-zero chance, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's poop. I could see it.
I bet if you get enough of it, the goldfish poop would be magnetic. That's
if you eat magnets.
Yeah.
Maybe they
probably
land on
volume.
it and then they see the giant sea king goldfish, and that's the real Laugh Tale.
We're gonna have a whole
But, like,
Patreon episode just about this question.
It's an iceberg made of poop. There you go. That's why it floats around.
That's the four kids. To be fair, they love their poop. They love their poop jokes.
Yeah.
Would that be like the boo boo no me? Is that no?
Desert doo-doo.
Do no me.
I just listened to the
That's the
interview with
laugh.
the 4Kids actor for Crocodile, and that does come up in 4Kids Flashback.
Yeah, please listen to 4Kids Flashback, 4kidsflashback.com, our sister podcast. Waddy Matthews PA Slay says, hello my fellow Daylight Savings fans. Wow, another character named Wolf. It really does make sense that these characters are called this, because there is another famous wolf out there, since Wolf Blitzer is a person. Fuck all of you. I love you all, but really.
There was another man, wasn't there, who seemed to be defeated, and then he stood up to warn people about how to look after the children.
Questions really put us in a situation.
You faster stop trying at some point.
Shut up, Stephen. I heard that. Wait, I broke. Fun to wonder what other news anchors Oda can name characters after. To my question, if you could pick just one giant, minus Dorian Broggie, to wolf down some food with, which one would it be, and why would it be? Roto, perhaps? Have a great day. Light Savings Day.
Nice.
I'd be most curious about how Mr. Tusks is like fitting big sandwiches past the tusks.
Well,
so I guess he's
walruses
immediately very
must
interesting.
eat their sandwiches somehow.
How often?
Yeah, submarine sandwiches. That way they're already narrow. So
And they're
gotta
underwater
fit it, but it's
already,
good.
so it's
Walruses
easy.
in the wild mainly eat pasta, you idiot.
Can we change the title of the episode? I don't think we're going to beat that. Even though it didn't answer the question.
Eat with Hiredin. There you go.
Ooh, yeah.
A yet to be introduced giant named Cronkite.
Oh, you really went back on that was an ancient
I can't wait
giant.
for the giant Dallas Reigns.
The Maddo no me.
I love
I'd
how
rather eat with Dan.
Oh, good.
Very well.
I love how Maddow is a devil fruit, not a person. Interesting.
It turns
choice.
you into it's the Hito no me model Rachel Maddow.
That's what I mean. That's what Fox calls her, the devil fruit. Okay.
Aww.
Steven
Wow.
cut himself off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Next question. Professional Poyo said, "Howdy, OPP. We might not be getting Linlin in this arc or ever again, but we do have a Big Mom attacking Elbaf now. That counts, right? Right? Anyways,
It does look a lot like her.
it does. I think because they're probably both Obahans, technically.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Oda's ideal vision of a mom.
She does kind of both Big Mom and this drawing
Ideal.
look like sort of widened out versions of the is it Saze-san I'm thinking of? Just like she's a skinnier version of both those sort of shapes,
Yeah.
silhouettes at least.
Yeah. It's the perm hair. That's the
Sounds
big thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's an 80s mom.
Brooke is a,
My
is
mom
a
had a
mom.
perm in the 80s.
My mom had
I mean,
really
okay, that's
big
not
curly
interesting.
hair
Everyone
in
had
the
a perm in the
80s.
80s.
I don't think it was a perm. I
There
think
you
because
go.
it's still like that, but it's less big. The question: what childhood fear would you hate to see Gigantify right in front of you? And don't worry, Killingham is not listening to this question.
That we know of.
That we know of. But
Wait till the
yeah,
dub
what
actor
childhood
listens to this.
fear- A
Oh, no.
car wash, obviously.
A gigantic pit of quicksand. God.
You're such an
no.
80s, 90s, early 90s kid.
yeah.
That's like
It was fear number one. You never knew when they were going to get you.
they did a Radio Lab episode on quicksand and how it just like fell out of the zeitgeist as like a scary thing because it used to be everywhere. Quicksand.
And it's not anything that actually exists in nature. It's just like the
Does it
thing
not?
of adventure books. I believe that was also part of that podcast.
How do
I don't
you-
remember. It's been a long time since that came out. A long time ago. Yeah.
How do you make gravity
I-
into a nightmare? Because mine was falling. Like, curious.
I've had nightmares where like I'd
balcony
wake up
come to
right as I
life?
impact the floor and die, and drowning. I'd wake up right before drowning.
So gravity
So
and water
falling is a
nightmares.
nightmare.
Adult
Those are nightmares.
fears are too difficult for this. Oh, what about Usopp? He would just like everything would come out.
No. That's how.
My parents listened to a lot of Dennis Miller, so my fear growing up was political correctness going mad.
Bill,
But I worked
Bill
through my
Maher
fears.
is one of the is like a nightmare come to life, so that makes sense.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've worked through my fears, and I actually named my dog political correctness. But that came back to bite us because political correctness went mad.
Abby, I
No.
never
and came
know.
back to bite us.
I never know
Dog
if what
bites?
you're saying is true ever.
I called the police. I said political correctness has gone mad and come back to bite us. And the officer said, "This is all very well, madam, but this is not a police matter."
I choose to believe you.
I'm so sorry.
Well, it happened to you and it was real, so that's what matters. Joey, what
I
were you going to
lived.
say?
Oh, I don't know. This sounds like a matter of freedom of leash to me.
Ooh.
Very well done.
I should have ended this podcast hours ago. Next question. Straw Hat Pirate 9 says, "Happy birthday chapter to me." Happy birthday. Got to enjoy
Birthday.
this chapter while celebrating my birthday in New York City. Or New York. Yeah, New York City. Right on the subway and everything. The full New York experience. I ask again, why? Why did they leave Loki down there with the hammer? Thank you. Thank you. I've been saying this. The poor kids, they're going to have to deal with those arrows better than Mr. Wolf did to save them. The night power to create fears is crazy, and I sure hope Gunko gets to see her fear soon.
No one else can lift the hammer. That's my guess. It's a whole Mjolnir thing. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
It's kind of weird that Gunko's fear is one of the fears that is already manifested up there.
It is
Yeah.
funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
2
not
Nikas.
accurate.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Her worst nightmare now.
It just is odd. Yeah.
No, my worst nightmare is 2 Nikas, and then Luffy shows up. Street Killingham, they them says, ahoy OPP. Banger chapter as always. Wow, Yamato certainly came out of nowhere lightning fast and kicked who's who in his racist ass. What is the pacing in this cover story? Really interesting chapter, though, with cool questions and setup so far. Do you think we will get Nika fighting evil Nika? Maybe. Have a good week.
Well, we know what Nightmare Luffy already looks like, so.
Oh. What is with the puns?
Well
this
done.
episode?
Well
Oh,
done.
God.
I like to imagine the 2 Nikas just become bros, and he just overpowers the nightmare energy, and they become funny together.
Like
they
the
have
ending of
personality?
Scott Pilgrim.
That, like,
Yeah.
that One Piece thing of that their arms are over their shoulders and they're kicking back and forth.
Yeah,
and,
they both
Yeah.
have the
Oh,
chopsticks
yeah.
in their nose and then
Oh,
lips.
good. Yeah.
They meet Mr. Tusk saves them by inspiring them to do a bit.
That's
Yeah.
a great image, too. Damn it.
Mr. Tusk is the key to all this.
He's the key to everything. Hopkins Hat 15 says, hey, OPP, how it be? So all the chains that were touching Loki's skin have been removed. The one on his ankle is around his boot, so he could use his devil fruit powers? Why do you think... there was no question mark there. I don't know why I read it like that. Why do you think he didn't use powers to break the chain? Was it established that Sea Prism Stone is unbreakable or just extremely durable?
Thought it was.
I think he was just in a hurry to hit that tree. That's
I-
what he was kind of single-mindedly wanting to do, you know?
I interpreted Stephen, yeah, you're probably
I
gonna
would
say
guess
something.
that Oda's answer would be that, like, well, he wouldn't actually be strong enough to break the Sea Prism Stone. Like, I don't think he wants to create a loophole where, like, you can destroy the thing that is meant, that is the kind of the unobtainium, the MacGuffin that nullifies your powers. So I think it's like he'll be even that much stronger once it's off.
Mhm. Sea Prism Stone is this universe's
are we
adamantium.
thinking that the lightning
Yeah.
conjuring hammer is his powers? Because I thought that was
I
a
thought it
property
was
of the
the
hammer.
hammer.
Yeah, property of the hammer. That's my guess too.
Because no way is Anal dead.
Anal will live forever.
I was gonna say,
Anal will live forever in our hearts. Of all places.
how has this joke not been made on the internet before? I was gonna say,
His name is a butt.
Abby's doing the he pose. What I was gonna say before I was so rudely interrupted by Anal, is that are you gonna be okay? Stop pointing and laughing at me just because I said anal. What I was going to say is Luffy had the Sea Stone cuffs on during the Udon stuff and was still able to fight and stuff. So I think it's the amount of Sea Stone. Abby, calm down. It's not that funny. I just said anal.
It is that funny. It has been funny ever since the arc happened.
What I was just going to say is that the Sea Stone that Loki has around his ankle is probably just not sufficient to completely tamp down on his energy level. Next question is about anal from Reverse Mom Patch, who says, oh, hey, it's the question that puts an end to the OPP. You mean Blue Sky Pia? Anyway. What?
We're finally getting canceled. Thank God.
Anyway. God, it took long enough. Anyway, I can't find any lore about the Kirin doing anything related to sleep. So does Killingham just look like that and have an unrelated dreaming devil fruit? Or is Summers giving him too much credit? Anyway, My biggest fear is that you guys make a bunch of regular show references with my mom, and I hope it hasn't been manifested in this episode. Don't worry, it has not been. Yeah. What was the...
Yeah, regular show was great. I don't know it by heart, Yeah.
I don't have regular show quotes to pull. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen regular show.
Mm-hmm.
I like when they go, for a long time.
Next question.
But I don't know. Was there an actual question? Oh, about the curing powers. Yeah, I was wondering about that. If that is I don't really know what the myths about curing are.
I think it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Next question.
So it's like, why does he look like that then? Like,
right.
I don't know. Like, what is
Why
his
not?
power exactly? Yeah.
Oh, that's true, because if he's some guy, why does he have a curing head?
Yeah. It would be
He's a Kieran head man.
Mysterious.
Maybe he's half curing, half man.
He does kind of feel like, if there was like a dude in the Empire from Star Wars who was just like, like a Greedo or something, and they were all like super cool with him, even though they're like, space Nazis basically. So that would be weird, and that's kind of it feels like that's kind of the inherent tension of having a guy who definitely does not look human.
Mm-hmm.
Sailor Karna has our last dispiece question. Hey, OPP, I fully expected to wake up and read the chapter and have a great day. Instead, I was woken up by my new neighbor accidentally ripping off my front bumper with a moving truck. I sure could use some positive energy. I wish I had Frankie on speed dial so he could fix it quickly.
Oof.
Can any of us help with this? Do we? If we had a hammer, a big one.
I'd hammer in the morning. I'd hammer in the evening.
Don't you dare.
How does that song go?
I'd hammer at supper time.
That's it.
With hammer and
Very
a bagel, you break your teeth. What's the next segment, Stephen?
Next one is the subreddit Archipelago, where we do have a few questions here. First one from 23 Years Virgin, who says, "Hey, overpowered podcast. Seeing the fears manifested made me think about what if someone had an irrational fear. God, perish the thought. Like a fear of flying or heights, or that donuts didn't exist, but someone is afraid of them and it starts raining donuts. Cheers and keep up the good work." I get that reference.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's. I feel like this works. This works best. This concept works best with kids. It's harder to get like manifestations of like taxes or something that adults are afraid of. So
my 1099s, no.
Oh my god, no! I think that's hilarious. I think the more boring the fear is, the funnier,
the better.
Is. Yeah,
okay.
That's my.
This isn't. Yeah, this isn't quite on those lines, but I do. This is like almost lost media, and it's one of the greatest jokes I've ever heard. The Upright Citizens Brigade, when they were just four guys, did a redub of the film "It's a Wonderful Life" that was aired like once, and it's available for piracy. And they're trying to give acting lessons to this guy, and they're trying to get him to be angry, and they're like, just try to think of something that makes you really angry when you're mugging us, because his line is your money or your life, and he just keeps saying, hey, your money or your life, my friends. And so he tries to think of something that hates him, and he says, your money or your life, parking tickets. And it's a really good joke, and I'm sad that it's lost and sort of bound to this thing that will never be seen or remembered by anyone, because it only exists in terrible quality online.
Abby, do you know what you did though? You let it live on in a new form. Here in
a worse form.
but a form nonetheless.
Thank goodness. Okay, my responsibility to this joke is over.
All right, and
there's Matt Walsh, the great Matt Walsh, or the good Matt Walsh, the one that isn't the other Matt. Yes.
And our other question on the subreddit Archipelago is from Load8027, who says, "Hey OPP, is this the first time the monster trio are facing up against a strong foe in quotation marks without one or multiple of them being nerfed by injury? To me, this is a sign that this may be the toughest test the Straw Hats have ever faced."
Or maybe Loki's a good guy and he just, wants to make one of those like smash burgers, and that's how he does it. He hits his
his hammer
on the tree. Yeah.
What is a smash burger?
Smashed
I keep
moose
seeing
burgers.
them around.
They flatten them.
They're
so
good. It's like Shake
they-
Shack, I
it's-
think, does that too.
Yeah.
Instead of making into a hamburger patty, you just kind of make a big meatball and then just press it down with the
press it.
smashing grill.
When I make my burgers, I've been trying to do that because I forgot this was a tweet at one point in the distant past, but a better, bigger burger is thinner and bigger than thicker. So I'm not trying to be anal retentive about this. It's just that's the way it is.
I'll tell you what wasn't anal retentive was this comic. They just threw him away after 1.5 arcs. Disappointing.
Steven, any other questions?
That's all for Reddit.
So I think we can round off the show. Everyone ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 859 for March 10th, 2025. Thank you all so much for coming on this week. We are back next week, probably with an SGS. If not, we do have a couple Skype voicemails. And if you want to send those in before Skype sunsets imminently, call us at our phone number, 347-497-MAJI. Again, that phone number, 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
Questions, comments, theories, or why you're anal retentive.
See you next week. Bye, everybody.
No, I do that at the front, though, because Skype is sunsetting, and we should enjoy that
It's
while
very
we can.
important.
Well, I actually have started downloading voicemail, so it's actually working this time. Before we go, Abby, where can people find you and the work that you're doing?
Oh, God. Well, I got banned from Instagram for describing the British Empire as a source of historical evil.
Seriously?
They dinged that as hate speech. And I'll tell you, I don't think that that's fair.
Okay. Anywhere else that people can
That's
find
messed
you?
up.
Where you
well,
are
not there.
dissing the British Empire.
Yes. AbbyDenton.itch.io. I have a little video game I made over Crimbus it's got lesbians and a talking pig that smokes a big cigar, and I was very proud of that, and it's fun, and it'll be an even bigger game at some point, or the engine that I programmed for it badly will be better in another bigger game. Also with lesbians and a cigar smoking pig. So if either of those things are within your areas of interest, check out abbyden.itch.io. Also a 10-page preview of Gamer Mom, the Mom Who Games, which will be up for crowdfunding as soon as Kickstarter gets back to me. And I guess Blue Sky, I'm at abbydenton.busky.social, whatever is the sort of the very generic suffix there.
Thank you,
Thank
Abby.
you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. Joey, where can people find you?
I am also on Blue Sky at Joey Weiser and Joey Weiser Comics on Instagram. Blue Sky's sort of taken the place of Twitter, where I'm talking about whatever, talking about One Piece, talking about movies I'm watching, and talking about my work. And Instagram is more focused on my comics and illustration work only. And big, very important thing to talk about right now is that next week, on March 18th, my new book, The Littlest Fighter, drops. And so you can find it at your local bookseller of choice, your online bookseller of choice. The Littlest Fighter. It's a kaiju-inspired graphic novel about a little monster about the size of a human child who wants to battle giant-sized monsters. And I hope everybody checks it out. And if you are in the Southeast, specifically the Georgia area, 10 days later on March 28th, I'll be doing a launch release party in Athens, Georgia at Bizarro Wuxtree, the comic book store. And I'll be doing a reading along with Caroline Cash and Stephen Pilnat and Abby Kaysen, who's hosting. And it's going to be really great. And the day after that in Athens is Fluke, a mini comics and zine festival. where I'll be selling my books for the first time at a convention type thing. And the weekend after that, on April 5th, which is my birthday, I will be signing at Neighborhood Comics in Savannah, Georgia. So if you're in the Savannah area and couldn't make it up to Athens for Fluke, this would be a perfect opportunity. But if you're not in Georgia, I'd still really, really love for you to check out The Lilith Fighter because I'm very proud of it.
Do we have a special podcast birthday song we can sing for Joey in advance of April 5th?
I know, we can sing it for Zach.
Dios muchos años tales, Dios muchos años tales, Dios muchos años tales.
Dennis, where can people find you?
I am also on the Blue Skies and at the Instagrams at Ichnob, ICHNOB, and I am, like Zach said at the top of the show, I host the Vintage Anime Club podcast, a podcast about old school anime while drinking lots of wine. So we are covering Fushigi Yugi right now, and that one does not hold up on that revisit, folks. I'll tell you that. There's still a lot of fun with it, but 90s shoujo, you know? Just say that's, yeah.
Comics don't need endings. You can just keep them all up in the air as long as you can. Mm-hmm. I guess this is not the podcast to say that on, to make fun of stories.
We're working on it.
But for folks or fans also of One Piece, I'm hoping that people will go check out the Universal Studios Fan Fest nights, also Fan Fest nights that are happening in spring. Looks like me and Jill are going to be going on Friday, May 2. So any other One Piece fans heading there maybe on that day, you get that Friday off, you know, come hang out, say hi, do all the things.
Stephen, where can people find you?
I may be found on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social. And as always, you can check out my simulpub work on One Piece, Akane Banashi, Shoha Shoten, and Trillion Game on the Shonen Jump or Manga Plus apps. I think Trillion Game might be Viz Media. I'm not sure.
I think it's web only.
Oh, yeah, for sure, because it is a mature title. But they're all... You can find them pretty easily. They're all out there. So enjoy.
You can find me at zachlogan.com on Blue Sky. You could also find us at onepiecepodcast.com or One Piece Podcast, wherever you get your social media. So Facebook, Instagram. I guess if you're on Twitter, we're technically there. The rest. And you could, of course, listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of those. Please subscribe, rate, and review. It means a lot. And please subscribe to us on patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. Your support helps us make more podcast content, including we've been putting Kirsten Carey's articles about the latest chapters on our website at onepiecepodcast.com. Helps us pay our amazing artists like Joey, and helps us keep our upkeep and server costs and whatever. There's always stuff that comes up. So we really do appreciate each and every one of you for supporting us. The podcast will be back next week, as we said, maybe with an SGS. After that, we have guest Chris Dobbins. The week after that, Marion Bray, voice of Flampe. The rhyme was not intended. And Dr. Gomez returns at the beginning of April for Joey's birthday, apparently. I think it'll be recorded right around there. And until next week, everyone, my name is Zach, and we'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.